Okay. Hey everyone, just let me know if I'm audible and if the screen is visible or not. Is it all clear?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, all right. So in the last session, we saw an introduction to Node.js, right? And how do we create a local server and all that. So we'll just do a quick refresher of what we did in the last session. Okay, so I'll just go to my desktop and I'll just create a folder, right? TD Express, say. There is the Express session, and I'll open that folder. So if you remember in this, to initialize a node project, you have to do npm init and dash y2 so that you don't have to fill all the details, and it will create a package.json file. Next, what you want to do is create a index.js file over here. After that, what we did in the last session was trying to create a server. So we use the HTTP module that is inbuilt in Node, something like this. And then we define the local host in our case. So that is the 127.0. One second. Uh, Yet. Hello, Mayuk.
Hi, Kunal. Hi.
So we just started. I'm just showing what we did last session in a quick manner, like how we initialize a server. So just a quick refresher, and then we declare our own port like this. So we'll go with the 8000 port over here. Then to create your server, you have to do something like const server is equal to http dot create server. That takes in a function and with two arguments, request response objects, and then with that you can set up certain actions, uh, request response actions that you do, and send it back to the front end. So here you say we just do a just a second. Right, it's a normal function. So this should be enough. Okay. So in the response object, we'll define the heads over here. Status is 200, and the content type as we did like HTML, I think, or just anything text plain. Right. Yes. And then we send the response to the front end. So we can use res.send, not to it. Okay, res.send and just say hello. All right. And then that before sending the response, we have to put a request to the server, right? So where do we put a request? That is done using server.listen, where it takes in three arguments. One is where the port in which it listens for the request, which host name, and the third one was a callback function. So we'll pass in the port that we initialized earlier, the host name, and a callback function. That will just say console.log, uh, okay, console.log. Server is started at localhost, and then just place in the port number, right? Next thing you have to start this server, you have to put a node and then the file name. Since in the package.json, we've already defined our main as index.js. You can simply do a node dot that will initialize the server as well. Okay, this seems to be a problem. So this my all right. No, just a second. It's having a bit of trouble. Right. Uh, okay, this one's wrong. Dot zero dot one. Okay. Right. Now I'll just come over here and change this as well. Since I made a change to my server, I have to restart it. Okay, so now it should come. Okay, one more time. We'll just put the host name directly. And then again, we have to start the server. So this seems to be a bit of a problem today. 7.0.1. Students, such and we'll just follow how it's done in the documentation, which should help. Right, so now it works. So we put a request to this our server, and it responded with the hello word over here. Okay, so this is how we did it using Node. But if, as you see here, there's this code can be a bit confusing, and you have to write different codes for different types of HTTP requests. And it's not clear which type of HTTP request we are trying to handle, whether it's a GET request, POST request, or a patch. With this, it's a bit tough. It's not that it can't be defined. It's just it's very inconsistent when you do it with Node directly. So to tackle this problem, we have the Express library. Using the Express library, it allows you to easily define routes that we'll get on later. Routes that you can handle specific HTTP requests. So to just initialize it, I'll just go to a new terminal and I'll do a npmi express. Okay. So this will install my express package, and it will be inside the node modules as we discussed last time. And to use it inside my index.js, I have to use const express equals require express. Okay. Now what can I do with this express, right? So as I mentioned, express, right? It helps you handle different HTTP requests more easily. And then there is a concept called middleware that we'll explore over here, which makes development of backend much more easier. Okay, so to initialize your Express server, you have to do const f equals express and parentheses. So this name can be anything over here. These variable name can be, but it's a common convention to follow the same naming uh, type. So first, to initialize your Express server, you use const app is equal to express, and then like you're invoking the Express over here. Next, what you want to do is, as I mentioned, you can clearly mention for what type of HTTP request you want to respond, right? So now app dot say app dot, it's a get request to the slash route that takes in a callback function with the request response object. Okay. And over here, I can just put rest dot send hello like this. And then as usual, from where I'm trying to put in the response, so app dot listen. I'm using app dot listen over here that will take in the same argument, but you don't have to specify the host name over here. You have to just specify which port you're in. So I'll just come over here and just put const say port is equal to 8000 again, and then I'll pass in the port over here. So from where I'm going to put the request, that will, and another callback function that will have access to the request response uh, object response. Okay, and then once uh, the server is initialized, I just put server is running at HTTP local host, and then place in the port. Okay, so now I'll just do a node dot over here, and I'll go to the website, put in request, and it still gives my, I'll just put localhost 8000, right? Yeah, so it sends the hello. So we just created a server using Express. So you can clearly see the difference between the usual way using Node, more inbuilt Node frameworks, and using the Express framework. It's a better way to define your backend. So as I mentioned, one of the uses of Express is like you can clearly differentiate the type of HTTP requests you want to respond to. One other, so this over here can be another thing. So app.get, say this my another route over here that again takes in the request response function and responds with say another route. So I'll just come over here and I'll put slash another over here. That put it here. Right. So yeah, this problem keeps coming. When you change your file over here, you have to restart your server. So node dot. Now when I go back here and put the request, it comes. So now when you're developing backend, your backend, right? So you will be doing changes, and every time you have to come and put node dot. It's very inconsistent and very time consuming. So to tackle this, what you can do is you can install a package called npm nodemon that automatically changes restarts the server whenever there's a change in your file structure. So instead of node dot, I just put nodemon dot over here. So now when I suppose say instead of another route, I just put new route over here. It will automatically restart my server instead of me having to restart it again and again. So to do that, you'll just install nodemon, do a npmi nodemon, and initialize the server with nodemon over here. So now if I go over here and put the request, it comes. So I don't have to restart the server again. Uh, any questions with regarding the you know declaring your routes using Express? Any doubt? Any doubts?
No doubt, no doubt.
Did we cover what was the different HTTP requests in the last session? Any idea about that? Or I just started talking about it? just now.
Can you repeat?
HTTP request.
Yeah, actually, Mosam showed us the difference in both one in Express and one in HTTP.
HTTP, right? Okay, great. So, as I mean, in Express, you are allowed to define which route and what type of request comes to that route. Okay. So now, next thing is Express also has the options for middleware. Okay. So what is a middleware? Usually, when in this state, you have only access to two things: request and response, right? So in this, you can only you'll get a request, you can get the data from the request and uh, access it, and then do something with that data, and then send a response back, right? So what if you want to get access of the request object, do something, and then send it to the response, right? So we have the concept of middlewares over here. So suppose say I can declare my middleware, okay, that has access to three things: the request, the response, and a third argument called next. Okay. So and then I'll just put console.log. We are in the middleware function, and then after it's console, we just go to the next. And in this case, if I pass in the middleware over here, the next over here will be the our callback function for the get route. Suppose say I put my middleware again over here. In this case, the next over here refers to the middleware itself again. So if I go to uh, the default route, put in the request and come to the console. You can see it's console log in the middleware function, right? So using the middleware functions, you can separate your code into small chunks uh, and define for which route what type of uh, function you want to do. This is not the only way you can pass in middlewares. There's also something called uh, app dot. With the Express, you have many methods. Okay, so one of the methods is app dot use for all the routes pass in the middleware, right? So once I do this, and if I just put a request again and come back, it's again console over here. So this is another method. Like use means for all the routes. I mean, I've specified all the routes over here. For all the routes, use the middleware function. Okay. If you want to see an example of like, let's see an example over here. Okay, I'll just come over here and I'll create a public folder, right? Inside the public, I'll just create a index.html. Something went wrong. Index. Hmm, this is supposed to be okay. I'll just create an index.html over here. Okay, so and I'll just define a normal here and I'll just put a h1 hello. Okay. So now, what if I want to serve this in index.html to the slash route, right? Whenever I put a request, I want to serve this index.html to a slash route. So to do this, we can't directly serve this. So as I mentioned, middlewares, right? So middlewares allow you to do this. And Express comes with a method called express.static. So I'll just declare it express.static. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to uh, deliver static files to the particular route. In if I don't pass in, this is the same as typing it without. When I type it without the slash, it means server to all the files, all the routes, sorry, right? So express.static, it takes in the argument for the path of the file. So in this case, it is the name, which directory we are in. That's the in the public folder. So this means serve all the static files to all the routes in the public route. Okay. Right. So then what I can do next to send this file is this res.send file, and send files takes in the path of the file. So again, which directory we are in and the name of the files. Okay. So we can just put slash index.html. Okay. So let's try this out. And it came over here. If I go into the source, you can see whatever we type, it came. If I come over here, index.html, and I'll just put 50 times, right? And I'll refresh. See, so now it's serving the static file because we use the middleware, uh, which is express method called dot static and takes in the argument as the which folder you want to serve to. Now, suppose say you want to serve folders to only a specific route, so a secret route. In that case, uh, express.static, and I'll just copy this. Okay. So in this, what is happening here is basically for the slash secret route. In for this route alone, serve the file public files, not in the not for the all the files over here. Okay, since it's coming, then that's the problem. Okay, it's not. Yep. Okay. So and then say I just put app dot get secret request response. Okay, and then I'll just copy this same one over here. All right. Yeah, this will throw me an error because now, as you can see, it says no such file or directory. Why? Because I'm serving the public directory only to the secret route. Okay? So anything inside secret. So if I put app.get slash secret slash say something, okay, and I'll just do the same thing, right? So then I'll come to here and I'll put the go to the secret route. You can see only for the secret route, it's serving those files. Whereas if I just put something over here and anything, your spelling mistake, TC, spelling THING, maybe it's this. That seems to be a font. This seems to be a problem with the path, not an issue. Yeah. So that is what basically middlewares do. You can use the Express middleware. Express comes with certain middlewares that allow you to like serve public static files. Then even there's even middlewares for passing through your body data. that we won't be seeing right now, because for that we have to get in the post method. What I had an idea for today's session was we'll be building this project over here that we made using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript using the Express Node and Express. So if you want to follow along, you can just take the old code. Okay, I'll just doing get clone. Yes, and starting this. Okay, so I'll just come to my index.html. I'll copy this all and I'll put in my index over here. Okay. Uh, Next, I'll put two more files, style.css and script.js, and I'll come over here. Yes, to the script. Yes, right. Okay. Paste it. Then my style files, copy it and paste it over here. And what I'm going to do is use the app.use express.static, serve the all the static files uh, in the to all the routes with name and then public. All right, and then use the res.send file to send the index.html. Okay, and to the default slash dot. Okay, so I'll come over here. Okay, and you see the same thing what we've got over here is now being done with Express over here. But let me show you one more thing. If I go into the source, anyone can just go into the source, go into the script. They can have access to the link where I get the posts and photos from. Take a scenario where suppose you're going to Instagram and say your account is private. And suppose we were to make a case like this where the post for that user is accessed. It can be accessed by anyone by just going to the source. So this would not be very ideal case. So what we can do is this post thing, we can save it, not like you can put it within our own backend such that we'll process all the data in the backend and then we'll serve the post directly in the front end. So they'll have no idea where we got those post images from. Uh, and how will we do that, right? So we'll create our own route app.get slash data request response. Okay. And if you remember this function over here, the fetch data. So I'll be using this one again, but it won't work fully. So I'll just create we don't need a folder, modules, and inside that I'll create a functions.js. In here I'll put, but this won't work because with this fetch, while it works in the browser, it will not work in your node environment because the fetch API is not defined in your node environment. So we can use an alternative uh, just package called Axios. So I can just do ntmi axios and I'll come over here. Const is Axios is to require. Okay. Then wherever fetch is there, I'll replace it with Axios and it's a get request to that URL. All right. and then we won't be needing this method. You can directly just send the response because Axios takes care of converting it into uh, JSON by itself. And then yesterday we learned the previous session we learned how to export, right? So module.exports, and we'll export this fetch. Oh yeah, the battery is over for the Bluetooth headphone, so I just joined to your phone. Right. Okay, so we can export our functions using the module.export, and then what I can do is I'll come over here and this response fetch data we require and the path of the scene. So I will just go inside one folder within the same directory. We got module functions, and that's about it. And before this, I will there's something called .env. .env is like short for environment variable. What this basically allows you to do is it allows you to define certain like a variable and key value pairs that you can use throughout your uh, that remains constant throughout your project. So before that, for using it, you have to put ntmi.env. Can and you can create a .env file. In the file, what you can do is say you can define the port. In our case, it was 8000. Then you can we'll store the post link and the photos link over here in our environmental variables. We'll just go to our script.js. And how do I get these variables from one file to another? So that I just come up here and I put required dot env and I just call the config method. So after I do this, to get those particular variables, say this port over here, I can just change it to process dot env dot and the name of the variable. Right? So the same thing I can do in my slash get data. So I'll just put const post equal to process dot env dot post. And then again const say photos is process dot env dot photos. Okay. And next, what I need to do is what we did over in our file, we merge the data, right? So this one you can just remove it off over here. You won't be needing this part. This we don't need. this merge data, we can do it in our backend itself. So I'll take that, come to my index.js, and I can just put it over here. And before doing this, I want to show you. Once the post equal to fetch it and passing the post over here, and it's a operation, and then this console log post. In now this, and this plus slash data. It won't return anything, but something will come in our console log. Hopefully, long code. Yeah, now okay. So you can see it gave all the posts that we needed. Right? So the data that we need is so the data that we need is inside a big object that comes in from that link, and that object is inside the actual data that we need is the array of posts. That array of posts is inside this object's data. So you can see it's inside data over here. So to simply access it, I'll restructure it right over here and just put data, restructure it and rename it as post. If I come down, now you can see it's ending with the arrays. So I got the array directly. So that's this tweak we have to do in our function. So I'll just come in this, rename the data as post. This is simple restructure, and rename the data from the photos request as photos. Then do the same post dot collection, that merge the photos and the photos and return the post collection. After merge data is done, we can send this post collection to the front end, and to do that, we can just use this simple data, call the merge data, but then take the data and respond the JSON by sending the data to the front end. Now if I come back over here, so it gave me that all the requirements, but this is not how I want it. I want to format it and this exact way over here. So I'll just come to my script.js. I can reuse the fetch data. So fetch data, I'll pass in the route from where I want to get it. In this case, we just defined the route. So that is data. Okay. Then simple dot then take the data that we get. And then in this case also, it will be an object, and that object will have a key value pair data. Inside that data, there will be the array. So in this, I'll just destructure again. I'm not wrong. Yeah. Or instead of destructuring, I can just do it the old way. Post as equal to data dot data, and then post dot for each post, update the for each that we defined these functions the last time, and update body takes in two arguments. One is the object, uh, sorry, one is the element. So we have to create the card that takes in the object as the argument, and the other one is the which container to update. If I come back here, it works the same way. What's the difference now? So if I go to the source, go to the script, okay, it's not updated. So just because I didn't delete it before. Yep. So now you can see the only thing it's showing in the front end is that it's getting the data from a route called slash data, but where is that data exactly coming from? So, this is one of the advantages of segregating front end and back end code. Uh, any doubt, guys, about what we covered today? Guys, any doubts about what we did today? I mean, this is just a small basic. Instead of using Node to create a server, we use the Express library, which offers much more flexibility to create our backend. We'll be covering more detailed things later, but this is just for today's introduction. Any doubt? Yes, feel free to ask now or just put in the chat box also. Anything over there. If there isn't any doubts, that can we look at the API projects right now? Who anybody is ready to present their API project? Am I audible? I'm not sure. Just a second.
Yes, Kunal, you're audible.
Yes, right.
Yeah, yes, you are audible.
Right. So I mean,
Can I
this
just
was
send it? Can I just send it to you by tomorrow? I'm just halfway through it.
yeah. All right. You can send tomorrow.
So,
Anybody else?
also can you just please send the recording of the session as well?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
And what about others? Most of you said that will show on Saturday, right?